Hello, welcome back to Erica's Welsh Garden. Today I'm in the greenhouse and I'm about to pot on and prick out some of my tomato seedlings, and I thought I would bring you along and show you how I do it. If you're new to gardening and you're not familiar with the term potting on or pricking out, it essentially means moving the young seedlings from the one pot that they were sown in, splitting them up and putting them in their own pot. With us gardeners, we get very carried away early on in the year, and one way that we can save space is to actually sow quite a few seeds in each of our pot, and then as they grow we can then split them on. And as you can see here in this this little tray here, I actually saved some seeds from a Yellow Delight tomato last year, and I sowed 3 in this one, and I had some bought seeds for exactly the same variety, Yellow Delight, and I also sowed 3 in here. And as you can see, the saved seeds have done much better, and with these ones here actually they don't need to be potted on really, because they've already got their own pot because they didn't germinate very well. I would class this at this stage now, because they've got their true leaves that have just come through, I would probably class this as potting them on into a slightly bigger pot. But with these ones here, I sowed these a little bit later, and as you can see they've only got their first kind of seed leaves through, and I would probably class this as pricking out. Now really you do want to be kind of transplanting them into their own pot when they're quite small, because at this stage they've still got quite a lot of kind of nutrients from that seed that they've germinated from, and they're pretty good at adapting to a little bit of root damage. Whereas when we've got the bigger ones here, there's obviously a lot more room for error, because there's 3 bigger plants with many more roots in here. But because we've had a little bit of bad weather recently, I've just put off getting these potted on, but today we're going to be doing it. Also, just for a bit of comparison, these ones here were planted 4 weeks before these ones. These ones were planted out in the polytunnel and then brought home, and these ones I put on a windowsill in a shady area, totally forgot about them, and as you can see they've grown very leggy. But don't worry about that, because I'm going to show you exactly how you can save these from being very leggy plants and turn them into strong stocky plants. The first ones that we're going to deal with are these Tigerella tomatoes. I've just counted 10, so I'm going to get 10 pots ready and then we can get them potted on. So how I prick out my tomatoes is pretty easy. I put about 1 inch of compost at the very bottom, and then all I do is just really gently pull the tomato out, using like a lolly stick or something to get under the roots so you don't do too much damage. And then just holding it by its leaves rather than its stem, because they snap so easily. Just get underneath. So there you go, I have the root contained in this little bit of compost here, and as you can see it's very leggy, and with a tomato plant it's got a furry stem, and every part of that stem can actually create roots. So if we bury it to just below the first leaves there, it will send out lots of roots all along the stem and create a really stocky little plant. So if I put this in the pot now, it's up quite a little bit shorter, this one, so I'm just going to add a little bit more compost there and put that in, and then we're just gently holding the leaves, going to bury the stem. You can be quite firm, but just make sure you don't kind of go pushing that stem where it can snap. And there you have it. You've now sorted out that leggy plant and you're going to help it to turn into a really strong little plant. While I do the rest, I'm just going to put this back in the compost to saturate all of the water. Don't panic if you get a tiny one like this with a really small root ball on. It will still grow into a really strong and healthy plant. We're on to the last one now, before we start all of the others. That's the last one done now, so on to potting on the rest of them. One thing I forgot to mention when I was pricking out the Tigerella is you just need to make sure before you pot these on or prick them out at all that you make sure they've had a really good water, so the soil's really nice and saturated so it comes apart really nicely. What I've done with the Yellow Delights is with the ones in the terracotta coloured pot, because only one of them germinated from each, I've just filled the top ½ an inch with lots of compost so they can still send out some roots along their stems, but I don't really need to worry about getting them potted on at all because there was quite a lot of room for me to put compost in. And with the ones along the back here, I will show you how I pot those ones on. So we've got our very leggy seedlings here, and as I mentioned earlier, it's much harder in my opinion to pot these on because they've got their true leaves now, they've got many more roots down in that soil, and there's 3 of them, so we've just got to be really careful. But usually I just kind of gently tease it out and then try, if I can, to really gently break it apart. And because it's very, very wet, usually find you're very careful. There you go. And as you can see here, much more kind of roots than the ones that I just pricked out a minute ago. So again, these have been saturated in water. And being really careful not to touch the stem, I'm just going to put that gently at the bottom and then fill it up. These were actually sown on the 24th of February, and to be honest, I'm quite glad that I didn't give in and sow these any earlier. These will be grown in my greenhouse, my polytunnel at the allotment, and in the polytunnel here, which I haven't finished. And at the moment, because we've been having very, very cold nights, and we've had frost a couple of nights this week, if I'd had to pot these on 3 weeks ago, I would be having maybe an overload on my windowsills, that's for sure. So these will go back inside for a week or 2 until the temperature in my greenhouse stays a lot warmer at night. So now I'm just going to gently tease this one apart. And here you go, after about an hour, I have now potted on all of my tomatoes. We've got the Tigerella right at the back here. These were the ones that I pricked out right at the start. In the terracotta coloured ones, these are the Yellow Delight, and I've run out of room, so I've split them up, but they are the only ones in terracotta pots, so they didn't get potted on, they just got a bit of a top up. In this one here, we've got the Yellow Delight from the saved seed, so I'm really excited to see how these do this year. And I'm also excited to see how they do compared to their parents, because these are seeds from the same packet as these were grown from and then saved. And then in this one here, we've got the Estonian Yellow. They are from the Heritage Seed Library, and never grown them before, but they sent me some of those seeds to try and see how they get on. So hopefully they will do really well. They are a yellow cherry tomato. These ones here, Yellow Delight, they're a yellow plum tomato, but very small. The Tigerella, they are a normal kind of size tomato, I think, and they have tiger stripes, so quite common now though, so you probably heard of them before. And in this one here, which has just hit water everywhere, and soaked my shoes. The money maker, really popular one here, and as you can hear, they because I don't water them from the top, I water them from below. Both these ones have just been done, so they're still soaking. But yeah, these are the money maker, and altogether I don't know how many I've got. I think I have about 40 plants. There you go, that is how I pot on and prick out my tomato seedlings. I really hope you've enjoyed watching today's episode, and if this is the first time you're watching one of my videos, please do hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified of all of my latest videos. As ever, YouTube have some videos up now on the screen that they think you'll like, including the one just here where I actually sowed the tomato seeds. So please go ahead and watch those, and I will catch up with you in the next episode. Bye!